Hey, I'm Jim Czek. You're watching Kelowna Now. I'm here with Tania Gustafson with Fit Nutrition. And we're going to talk about BS. What kind of BS are we going to talk about?
The whole BS about health. And so the BS that I'm referring to is blood sugar stabilization. It is the key and the crux, along with gut health, which they both kind of go, hand in hand. But blood sugar is like your basic, something that people should, strive for when they're thinking about creating health in their bodies.
I hear that all the time, like insulin resistance, all that kind of stuff too. Like if you eat a lot of sugar and you actually build up this insulin resistance?
You do, yeah, for sure. And that's just, that creates that imbalance. And so when our blood sugar is not stable, it's either spiking or crashing.
Right.
So if you're missing a meal, taking too long between meals, your blood sugar drops, then your body burns muscle. When you're eating too big of a portion, too many processed carbs or too much alcohol, sugar, all those kinds of things, then your blood sugar will spike. And every time it spikes, you store fat. Every time it drops, you burn muscle. And when you can get it in the middle, that's where your metabolism is turned on. Your body naturally releases stored fat. And then your muscle takes up that fat that it's released and burns it as energy. So if you're chipping away at the muscle because your blood sugar is unstable, then your metabolism goes down.
Is it also the thing that a lot of people talk about? They say they diet and they can't lose weight and they kind of yo-yo and they just, no matter how much they don't eat, they seem to hang on to the weight. Is that insulin resistance?
Yeah, absolutely. That's just, I think most of the people that come to me, I get them to eat more often than what they are.
Eat more but better?
Yeah, eat more but better and more often. And generally people are eating, sometimes only once a day, sometimes twice a day, and they're up at the crack of dawn and going to bed late. And they're locked in that dieting mindset of, oh, it's calories in, calories out. I need to eat less in order to be a smaller person. And sure, you can lose weight on a diet at first. Yeah. Everybody can, drop a few pounds as soon as you try something different. Your body's not used to it, so it kind of does a reaction. But is it sustainable? So the three things I get people to think about are, is what you're doing based in science? Tons of science around blood sugar. Let's ask a diabetic, right? I mean, there's science around keto and intermittent fasting too, but get to number two, does it make sense for you that you could do it for life? And number three, would you let a child or a teenager do what you're about to do? So, I don't think any responsible parent out there is going to say, if we're thinking intermittent fasting, hey, no, you cannot have breakfast, go to school, don't eat until lunchtime.
Or eat 12 pounds of meat today.
Or eat 12 pounds of meat today and never have a banana. Yeah. Or, add up all the points from your lunch, kiddos, and text it to mommy before you eat. Like, nobody does that.
No.
So we haven't changed on the inside. When we were born, we're the same humans. We're just larger humans. Our body still takes in and metabolizes food in the same way. And the blood sugar stabilization is our body's love language. It was the way we were born into eating.
So how do you go about discovering your blood sugar levels and how do you manage them without, becoming a scientist?
Right, yeah, and you don't have to. Some people like to wear a glucose monitor. Some people that are diabetic do wear a glucose monitor, and that's okay. So use that for data and feedback, but you don't have to. So if you focus on eating within that first hour of when you get up, and prioritizing protein. So make sure you're having a protein, a fat, and a carbohydrate. Go for the clean ones, not the processed ones. So I'm thinking your fruits and vegetables, So having a protein, a fat, and a carb within that first hour that you get up, and then every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day up until about an hour and a half before you go to bed. And that last meal is kind of optional. It's thinking about your body like your vehicle. If you're driving farther in your car, you're going to require more gas in the tank, right? If you're putting more demands on your body, working harder, staying up later, working out at the gym, working in the yard, whatever, you're going to maybe need that extra meal. Whereas if it's a rainy day and you've been sitting around with the kids, watching some movies, reading a book, and you probably wouldn't. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what would make a good breakfast then in the morning to get that good foundation?
So eggs and fruit are great.
Yep.
Then you've got your protein and fat from your eggs because the yolk is your fat. And then you pick whatever fruit you like or veggies. If you're wanting to have, you can even make protein pancakes.
What about the standard bacon and eggs meal?
Standard bacon and eggs is not bad. It's just if you're loading up on on a whole bunch of it that's really fatty, then
like
you're
ketchup on the potatoes is probably not a good start.
well, you can also get ketchup that's made with stevia. Superstore actually has one.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they do. So, and then hash browns would be your carbohydrate. Probably not the cleanest carbohydrate, but it will balance. So you can balance anything. Like I can teach you how to balance a bag of Skittles, but is it healthy?
Right.
And will you get the long-term value from it? Because you want for a better quality, you're going to want to put in better quality food, right? It's like with your car. If you put in the optimal fuel, if you're driving a Ferrari or something, you don't put in the regular gas, So do you want to drive a Ferrari or do you want to drive a Honda? Like it depends what you're feeling.
And with Skittles, you get all the chemicals you could ever need.
You do. You get a whole rainbow of them.
That's right. All taste the same, but
they do. Funnily enough, yeah, they do.
Yeah. So. Good breakfast.
That'll
kind of set up your blood sugar for the day. What about people that have like a built up insulin resistance? Do they have to kind of do a detox to kind of get that down before they can start? Or they just start at a foundation and just kind of keep building and over time it kind of like settles down?
Focusing on that balance will help your body to regulate and balance your hormones. Insulin is a hormone, right? So it will help with that. You want to remove inflammatory foods. And so you don't have to do any crazy detoxes and, where you're in the bathroom all day, every day for a week. Not a good idea, but you can, removing inflammatory foods. So the known inflammatories are like gluten, soy, dairy, alcohol, coffee, sugar.
Potato chips.
Yeah, things that are processed, right? So if you're removing things that are known inflammatories, then it removes the toxins from your body. It's kind of like taking your car in for the oil change. The mechanic, he never says, hey, you want to save a few bucks? Leave the dirty filter in, I'll just put the clean oil in.
Hey.
Yeah, right, hey, that makes sense. Let's put the clean oil in and run it through a dirty filter. No,
That's probably better than not doing it.
It's better than not doing it in a pinch, but they never ask you, no one ever comes out and asks you to do that, right? Be silly. So if we pull out those things and then it lets our body's filtering systems have a rest and it can naturally flush out what's in there, then you can start from a place of health. And when you bring back some of those foods, then you can see how it is reacting in your body. And maybe then, like I use a stoplight analogy with my clients, and maybe then you eat something, you bring them back toast or something for breakfast, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel very good. I feel bloaty. My stomach is yucky. Okay, so maybe gluten's not your friend. It could be gluten. It could be wheat. You don't know at this point. And so then maybe that's like a red light food. Or maybe you're like, yeah, I'm not sure it's okay. So maybe that's a yellow light. Or maybe you add it back and you're like, hey, I'm all good to go. So it's a green light.
One thing I've really noticed for myself as I eat cleaner is that I can really tell when I eat something that's not so good. Like I can, after 5 or 6 potato chips, I can feel myself bloat.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like before when I just ate everything, you just think it's just like almost like you're just pouring like a smoothie mix into yourself, right? Like you don't even know what's affecting what. But now I can kind of sense when I eat something if I feel good after eating it or bad.
Yeah.
I just took a trip to Vancouver and back, and I stopped at a gas station on the way home to charge. And I looked around, and there was the typical counter where I used to buy stuff. So it had, like hot dogs and samosas and
all the stuff,
all the fried stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then I just I don't really want it because, I'm going to be in the car for the next 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, and then you're like falling asleep because you're not
So I walked in the
food.
back there, and then they had 4 boiled eggs.
Oh, yeah.
And a little thing, a tray of vegetables. And for both of those, 4 boiled eggs and a tray of vegetables came out to $9.
That's
which
a
was
reasonable meal.
Less than the hot dog.
And way more nutritional value than the hot dog. So you got a super bang for your buck. And that's a good lesson for people because when you're out and about, you can usually find something anywhere. Yeah. You just have to be diligent to look.
That's the first time I've ever seen that at a gas station. I said to the lady, I said, that's awesome. But it was a truck stop type thing. So I think a lot of the truckers are asking for it. So
Good idea. Yeah. And things like, some of the coffee shops like Starbucks or whatever, they'll have the boiled eggs or they'll have a yogurt or they'll have, you can get those egg bites or something. I mean, they have extras in them. But in a pinch, it's better than grabbing a cookie or grabbing the chocolate bar or,
Better than the McGriddle.
Oh, yeah. Let's not get started on that. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so putting in a good foundation.
Yeah, good foundation, yeah.
Is the big part of the day, right? At protein,
totally.
protein kind of thing.
Yeah, because if you are missing that breakfast and your blood sugar goes down and your body starts burning muscle, because your brain never shuts off. Yeah. And it needs protein to turn to glucose to feed itself. So if you've already set yourself up that way, the first thing you eat in the day will be stored as fat.
Yeah. So I would say to people too, in these inflationary times where money is a big problem for a lot of people in feeding their families, like if you don't like eggs, learn how to like them.
Well, you can make them into different things.
Yeah, because they're cheap and they're a good source of protein, and they're good for you, right? So I'm just like, try it, especially for your kids, right? Instead of that, we did a thing on cereal.
Ugh.
Like,
the cereal killers.
The cereal killers, yeah. like it's sugar. You're feeding your children sugar.
Yeah.
And you're going to develop like almost like an addiction for them on sugar, right?
Absolutely.
Like, they're not going to want to eat anything else.
Right.
Once you give it to them, they're just like, well, no, I'm not eating those peas and that thing and
No,
that thing.
I know.
It doesn't taste nearly as good as that Captain Crunch.
Right. And here's something for parents, or for anybody actually, that sometimes you might think that your child is just acting up and they're just being belligerent and they just want to have that. Yeah. But what happens if you are continually eating a certain food or certain type of food, you're either nourishing the good bacteria or the bad bacteria in your body. And so the bad bacteria likes the processy stuff. It likes the ultra processed. It likes the sugar. It likes the salt. It likes the chemicals. And then you're fueling that beast in there. And of course, the more you feed something, the more it grows, and then the more food it needs.
The wolf wants
more.
The
wolf wants more. And so it literally prompts you, and there's a physiological response to crave that. Your kids won't know that, and you won't know that. You just think they're being little stinkers, and they're not listening to you. But there's actually that physiological response. So instead of, and I talked about this with somebody else recently, instead of trying to think about what do we not eat, trying to figure out what better options can we add to our day, because it just gradually pushes the other ones out, and it feeds the good bacteria, and it starts to take over and starts to make you want to crave the good stuff.
If we focus on the proteins first in most meals, are we not better off if we make sure we have a good protein? Then we kind of like the sides will kind of take care of themselves.
They will.
Thing too.
No one's ever going to skip the carb. Trust me. Like, it doesn't happen.
I did watch this person on YouTube, and she talks a lot about, like, you can have a little bit of sugar, just eat the protein first, right? And then your body kind of like starts to react to that, as opposed to putting the sugar in first. And the body's just like, hey, sugar showed up.
Right, yeah. It's and you know what? If you really want to optimize when you're eating your meal, if you have your stuff on your plate first, eat something that's full of fiber first. So like maybe your leafy greens and broccoli, and then go for your protein, and then go for your fat. Or if your protein and fat's together like a steak, well, then you're good to go. And then go for your carbs last. So if you had the potato or the rice or a piece of garlic bread, do that last. So you don't
fill up on that stuff.
Right, but it keeps your blood sugar more stable, because if you put those other things in first, your blood sugar goes through the roof, because it digests so much more quickly.
Yeah, that's one of the things I learned, is because, like, if you go to the keg, for instance, I love the keg because they
love the keg.
Steaks.
It's great steaks,
but they bring that bread first, and then you have like a couple of those loaves, and that's just like the wrong way to do it, right?
It's
you just
totally
gotta
the wrong way to do it.
resist that bread at first. Maybe have a piece of it at the end, because like if it's just the bread, that's the first thing that shows up.
Yep.
And then you're just like, I'll have another one, right? And next thing you know, you've eaten, and like you feel like you're
But a hack for that, is again thinking about protein before you go out for dinner, because a lot of times you think, I normally eat dinner at 6, so we're going to make a 6 o'clock reservation. Well, everybody knows you get to the restaurant at 6, but you're not eating till 7, right? So if they bring that bread on the table and you're already hungry because you're thinking, well, I don't have to eat because I'm going to eat at 6. You're not eating at 6. Yeah. So have maybe half a protein bar before you go to the thing, or grab a boiled egg out of your fridge, or maybe you have a leftover piece of chicken in the fridge. Grab a couple, have a couple bites of chicken before you head out the door, and a piece of apple or something, or a carrot. Couple carrot sticks.
I find that planning for sure helps a ton. Like, totally. I drive to Calgary quite a bit, so I'll pack a lunch. So like boiled eggs and like turkey and stuff like that. It's just a great thing to have instead of walking into Timmy's there and getting, because like when you're hungry, you make bad decisions.
You do.
And the one covered in chocolate is the one that usually goes first, right? Because it's so satisfying.
It is. It's lovely. Chocolate tastes good. Hey, I had some chocolate protein balls today.
Oh, did you?
But that doesn't mean you can never have them, but you don't want it to control your choices when you're actually hungry for a meal. You're absolutely right. But now if you ate your wonderful meal and then you're like, I still feel hungry and I'm at Tim Hortons, you would probably opt for maybe a couple small Timbits instead of the entire large donut.
Or the large Long John.
Right. You would, because you're feeling better.
Just avoid going in.
Yeah, that could be too.
Just to sum up though, like, definitely the morning, setting that tone, right?
Setting the tone is really important. And, and then thinking about your day.
Yeah. Planning ahead even for the week, like for kids, the snacks too, because if the snacks are there, I find that if I cut up fruit in the fridge and have it in there, instead of reaching for something sweet, that the fruit is sweet enough that I don't need to, even for we have a grandchild now, like even for that, like it's better to raspberries and strawberries as opposed to
absolutely
Easter eggs.
My husband used to cut up carrot sticks and cheese sticks and whatever and put them in a cup standing up so they look like fries.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And he would tell the kids, here you go, here's some cheese fries, here's some carrot fries, and they loved it. They would ask for it because you just made food fun.
I know that it's especially for kids, it's so convenient to put the box of Cocoa Puffs and the milk on the counter and just let them, go to town on it. But it's developing kind of like bad food habits.
It is, yeah.
And plus, you're feeding that sweet tooth, right? And if you do it yourself, it's even probably worse, right?
Oh, yeah, because then everybody's cranky and grumpy, really. Nobody gets a good start to the day.
You get that quick flash, right?
You get that quick flash. You don't focus well when you show up for work. Your kids are not attending at school. They're like falling asleep in their chair or they're bouncing off the walls or both. They've gone from one extreme to the other. You feel like crap by the time you get to work because you haven't nourished your body at a cellular level. You haven't given it anything. You've given it empty calories and sugar. So your body's burned through it super quick and there's nothing to sustain you.
Yeah. How do people find out if they have like a insulin resistance?
They're probably going to know because they would have been at their doctor getting checked and things like that. People that are diabetic, pre-diabetic, they're really on that track, right?
What about somebody that's like, say, 40 pounds overweight and says they try to diet all the time and yet it never works and they just don't find success? What's the advice to them? Like, because I was that person, right? I was 50 pounds overweight and I just thought, well, I diet for 2-3 days and then I'd eat whatever was in front of me and then, I just keep going back and forth.
It is that yo-yo thing that happens.
Yeah, and then I just kind of gave up too and I said, well, at my age, what difference does it make? And I think it was only like blind luck that I stumbled upon this guy, Gundry, Dr. Gundry.
Dr. Gundry, yeah.
Right, which is a lot about gut bacteria and all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of made lifestyle changes that made a huge difference. And I've been able to hang on to this now for like 6 years, right? So, and I don't feel deprived, which is the key thing.
Yep.
And I just still love pizza. Ice cream is like my friend.
I like ice cream too. I actually like gelato.
Yeah, both. I'll eat either.
Right? Who's picky?
Gelato or even sorbet.
Yeah.
But I make ice cream at home.
Yeah,
so they
you can make it at home.
Less chemicals in it, right? So you're just putting the whipped cream in it. But I don't deprive myself. I definitely don't indulge like I used to.
Yeah, and then that's the thing because you touched on lifestyle, right? Yeah. That's the thing. Is to go with a healthy lifestyle, like I said a few minutes ago with the 3 things, right? It has to be something that you can do for life because otherwise you come back to that, oh, well, it just doesn't work for me and, oh, it must be my age and I can't make any changes now and, whatever. People have that devil in their head going round and round.
I had that devil in there,
yeah.
And the wolf in the stomach.
The wolf in the stomach, the devil in the head, the hamster's running in the wheel there and no one's happy.
Right.
But if you're just... So getting back to the balance and thinking about putting yourself in balance, anybody at any age, I've coached teenagers all the way through into the people into their 80s. Yeah. And when you put your blood sugar stable, when you stabilize your blood sugar, you're using food to create hormonal balance and stabilize blood sugar, everything falls into place. Now, as you're getting older, based on the length of time you've been dieting, doing things that haven't been serving your body, any diseases that you have, those are all factors that might make things take a little bit longer or shorter depending on you as a person. So it's not an overnight quick fix. That's where diets suck people in. You can get these results right now.
I don't like the word diet either, right? Because diets don't work, right?
They don't work.
They're temporary.
They're temporary. Band-aids Band-aids at best. And so you need to have these lifestyle changes. So as you're and I get my clients to do a 1%. So people think, oh, I can't start right now because, it was Christmas, or I can't start right now because, the kids are off school for spring break. I can't and then they just never start. But if you think about 1%, everybody can do 1% better today than they did yesterday. So if you are not a breakfast person, if tomorrow you make some hard-boiled eggs tonight and you grab a hard-boiled egg, a couple eggs and an apple on your way out the door tomorrow, bonus, you are way more than a 1% because you've now set yourself up to feel good for the rest of the morning. Yeah. If you're not a water drinker and you commit to, okay, now I'm going to have a glass of water with my meals. Okay, great. There you go. Yeah. You've just done something. I'm going to park at the back of the parking lot and I'm going to walk up to the grocery store every time because I don't have time to go to the gym. Okay. you know, those kinds of things. So you can always make these lifestyle changes. But if you're prioritizing your protein, having your proteins, fats, and carbs together within that first hour and every 3 to 4 hours throughout the day, you will notice massive changes.
And I think changing your mindset, that helped me a lot too, because, you know, like obviously if you eat a hard-boiled egg and that's all you eat, is just like eat half and then eat the other half, and then it's not nearly as tasty as that creamy, gooey, oozy, cheese dripping, sauce dripping McGriddle, right? Because it's not full of sugar. But starting to change your mindset to eat for nutrition as for what your body needs, like fueling it, as opposed to
just filling the stomach bucket.
Feeding the taste buds, right? Like, because
But healthy food can taste good too.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if you're used to that sugar, that egg is going to taste, you know, pretty bland.
It may, and then, you know, you can make omelets or whatever. You can, there's always ways to do it. You can make, you know, egg white pancakes and using.
But I'm just saying, like, get to the
mindset
mindset where you're not always eating for pleasure, because that'll help what you put in your mouth for sure, right? Because if it's always for pleasure, obviously the ice cream is going to be like eat it with a big spoon, right?
But I mean, just a tip, as people, and they don't realize this, but as you slowly balance your blood sugar and you pull out those inflammatory foods, your body becomes really clean. And like you mentioned, when you're really clean, your body reacts really quickly. If you put something in that it doesn't like, right? But it also cleans your palate. So those foods that used to taste boring to you.
I can't drink pop anymore because it's
way
just
too
like, oh my
sweet,
God,
isn't it?
this, like,
Yeah,
what
it's
is this stuff, right?
Right? But before, you'd be like, oh, no problem.
I was eating 5 or 6 a day.
Whew, that's a lot of pop.
I just start in the morning when they just that opening of that can, that was like, good morning.
Oh. Now you have your fizzy water. It still fizzes.
I was the Coke ambassador before.
There you go. And that's, but once you clean your palate, like you've just found out, right? Like you don't want that anymore, or you don't even like it. You think you want it, and then you have it, and you're like, ugh, that was kind of a waste. I don't really enjoy that anymore.
Just, you feel it like right away.
Yeah,
so.
you do.
And
you do.
And again, if the furnace is burning hot, you can do a lot worse thing. You know what I mean? Like, but you have a choice to make. If you want to maintain a certain body or whatever physiques for health and that, like if you eat a lot of crap, you're going to have to like really like turn up the heat on your body. So like a lot of people don't have 5-6 hours a day
to work out. And working out shouldn't be a strategy because like honestly, your body will wear out just like anything else. So, or, you know, you could get an injury or you could get sick or you could have to go on a trip or whatever. And so if you can't dedicate all of that time to, you know, because I mean, elite athletes, they're in there, they're training there every day. Yeah. What happens when they retire? A lot of times, sometimes they gain the weight because they just, they don't have the nutrition down pat, and then they have to do this whole kind of revamp because I'm not training all day long. So
there was a Calgary Flame that used to eat a McDonald's meal before he went on the ice.
Oh, really?
And they said, how can you do that? And he's like, well, the furnace is hot enough. You can put anything in there. It was just his pregame superstition,
It was a pregame thing, yes.
His superstition, right? So
and you can totally burn off calories. I'm not saying you can't. But again, like if he had have swapped that out for something that had way more nutritional value, he would even be faster on the ice and his energy would last longer.
Likely in his case, mentally, the superstition meant more to him than,
obviously.
You know what I mean? Like it obviously meant more to him, so it probably would really hurt his mental game.
Yes,
right?
yes. The mental with sports.
He would think that it was just all bad luck and whatever, right?
Exactly. Oh, no, I know. When you got those superstitions
so that really
in.
Talks about your mental disposition, though, right? So on how you treat food, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about today on the BS?
On the BS.
On the BS of health?
Well, the other thing that goes with your blood sugar, knowing, like, so balancing your blood sugar, and then knowing that, you know, all of your health is made in your gut, right? Your gut is your second brain. Yep. So back to what we're putting in, right? If you're putting in inflammatory foods, your toxic bucket is getting bigger, which is causing like leaky gut and things to seep through, causing massive inflammation, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes.
You're feeding the wrong bugs.
You're feeding the wrong stuff, and it's really it can be very problematic. And so same with it can also lead to mental problems, like mental wellness problems, like depression and brain fog and moods and fatigue, irritability, low energy, low libido, bad sleep, the whole thing. Yeah. Because stuff is getting where it's, like stuff isn't going where it's supposed to go, it's going where it's not supposed to go. And it's just creating a whole lot of inflammatory issues. Inflammation is the root cause of all disease, so we want to Nip that.
It's like if you go to Costco,
Yep.
they have a great deal on a $1.50 hot dog. The first hot dog's pretty good. The second and third hot dog, not so good.
Oh.
And just imagine yourself eating 3 of those
Ooh.
and then going to bed. And then you can kind of really get the idea of what you're doing to your body, right?
Yeah, that's
that would
pretty
be,
hard. That's a pretty hard
especially
lesson.
if you do the Polish ones, right?
Oy.
You probably won't even be married for long.
That's a bad idea, Jim. Don't even go there.
I used to, when I was younger, I would say, like, that first hot dog was amazing. So you get the second one. That second one's always like, after you're just like, eesh, why did I have the second one?
Right? Yeah, your body's satiety level didn't kick in fast enough and you just were kind of grabbing it. Yeah.
Got to pause.
You got to pause and wait. Pause and wait.
Right? And that eat slower is part of that, right? Pause.
Yep.
Eat the proteins first.
Proteins first, fat second, have your carbs third,
Yeah.
start with some fiber.
And maybe slow down eating.
Slow down eating. Enjoy it. Sometimes we're in a hurry, but for the most part, see if you can sit down and enjoy that dinner with your family or the breakfast with your family.
Here's a tip from me. For if you have a family or whatever, go buy like 3 or 4 dozens of eggs and then try to get through them in a week. Figure out how to use them.
Figure out how to use them.
Because they're cheap and they're really good.
Yeah. You can sub them in anytime.
Yeah.
Great snack. I had some this morning.
Eggs? I think yesterday when I was driving, I had like 2 for breakfast and then 4 on the road. So I had like 6, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. People say, oh my gosh, there's too much cholesterol. Nope, not if you split it up and you're balancing.
But that's all I was eating was eggs and vegetables, cut up vegetables. Right?
You had your protein, fats, and carbs. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, PFC.
That and a Red Bull.
Oy, Jim, you just ruined it. Oh, you just ruined it for me.
I needed that to stay awake.
Oh, I got something else better for you. Don't worry.
Well, that'd be good because like now that the car drives by itself.
Oh, yeah, that could be really dangerous going through the mountains then now.
I'm supposed to stay awake and watch it.
Yeah, right?
Anyway.
Oh, my goodness. So much automation.
There you
Not
go. What are
fun.
we going to talk about next show? Do we know yet?
Let's talk about hormones,
Hormones.
metabolism, and menopause.
Wow. There we go. That's a good one.
That's a good trio.
Thank you for watching Kelowna Now. Get those eggs.